Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Scoop FM. We last met on Friday, and since then, we've seen a lot of really cool things happen in the market. The biggest one being ETH finally crossing that $4,000 trend line to create a new local top at 4,200, and with that, the bullish momentum has mostly returned back to the crypto landscape. Now, I know in this euphoria, a lot of you are probably thinking, now is the time to go all in. Now is the time to double down on alts and just go berserk. But I am here to tell you a different story. In my four years working in crypto, I'm firmly and convinced that the more people say that the 4 year cycle isn't repeating itself, the more I believe it really is. And for this cycle, the key driver, which is liquidity, um, mostly today driven by digital asset treasury companies, is great, but in my opinion, it's not enough. So I feel we are going to see a correction. That correction is going to bring the prices of ETH and even Bitcoin, come down. I don't know if it's going to be a significant correction, but I do feel that it's very much likely that we will see Bitcoin, touch the come as close to maybe the 100K level, or maybe even further down to 90-95K, and for Ethereum to maybe also drop even further, right? So, in all of this, the most important thing that you need to know is that we do not have a rate cut yet, right? And I know we had some CPI numbers to come. I don't know if we already have that at the time of this recording. I haven't really checked. But unless we see some strong reasons for the Fed to pump up the US economy uh, and as a result bring rates down, we're not going to see that happen. And I just don't know if and when exactly that's going to happen. Of course, last week we were speaking about how the jobs data had to be redrawn downwards, and as a result, there is now growing consensus, at least on poly markets and on crypto Twitter, that there is a possibility of a 25 basis points cut. So I feel like the real major rally, which is when we look at the markets, and in a span of 24 hours, like tokens go like 5x to 20x, that's not going to happen right now. It will happen in the edges, it will happen in the trenches, but it's not going to happen on the mainstream tokens. So that's what I wanted to start with. If you're new here, I'm Rohit. I've been in crypto for the past 4.5 years. During this time, I've spent analyzing the market very closely and worked as an operator across companies like Polygon Labs, Socket Protocol, and Long Hash Ventures, which has given me a front row seat to analyze the markets and look at the markets in a new, better or deeper perspective. So, before we dive into today's episode, I want to say that nothing that I say here should be construed as financial advice, legal advice, or even life advice. Crypto is inherently risky, and everything that I'm going to talk about, no matter how strong my conviction is, could go to zero. So think about that. And with that, let's dive in. Let me now share my screen and we'll jump right into it. Okay, so the first big news came from the BC letter, and I'm not going to read through the entire thread, but I want you to know that this is extremely important, and I'll leave the link to this specific post at the bottom of my video. But basically, Jensen Huang recently met Donald Trump, and what has happened is that both Nvidia and AMD, which is the two largest chip makers in the US, have agreed with Trump to provide the United States, right, the United States Treasury more specifically, with 15% of revenue from all chip sales that happen in China to remove export controls, right? Now, pause here and think about the ramifications. What's really happened is, so far in the whole Trump tariff dance, that was happening, Trump was negotiating with countries. He negotiated a deal with the EU for a 15% tariff, and for with countries where he could not negotiate a deal, he decided that he's going to have, you know, uh, he will impose suo moto tariffs of whatever rate that he pleases. Like on India, for instance, he has applied a tariff 25% plus a 10% penalty because India is trading oil with Russia. On Canada, he has similarly imposed a 35% tariff. On Switzerland, he has imposed a 39% tariff, and so on and so forth. The next wave of these tariffs are now actually hitting companies. So Trump is negotiating with companies, especially those companies which are mission critical to the United States, and companies which are dealing with what Trump or America perceives as their biggest global geopolitical adversary, which is China. So uh, Nvidia is the first to bend the knee in order to have access or continued access to the Chinese markets. Nvidia's Jensen Huang has agreed to pay Trump 15% of all of the revenues that they generate from the Chinese market. Now, that number, according to this post, could be as high as $50 billion, guys. Yes, you heard that right. So that could be, as Jensen Huang said, as much as $50 billion, and this is a this is the amount of sales that they are looking to generate from China, and 15% of that is a significant number, right? $7 to $8 billion, and similar deals are going to happen with other major like Mag 7 companies as well, because remember, almost 50% of the revenue of each of these Mag 7 countries, companies like Google, Tesla, Amazon, Meta, all of it is coming from um, outside the US. And if these companies can get away doing business in the way that they do around the world by paying a 10 to 12% tariff or a 15% tariff, I think that's net positive for these companies at least, and also for the S&P index, if you think about it, which is what the argument is of the author of this post. And I kind of agree, because for me, when I look at the markets broadly, today S&P 500 more and more is essentially, its market cap is dominated by the Max 7, right? By the big tech companies. And if these companies are able to grow their business, continue doing business with China or other parts of the world, which Trump considers to be an adversarial relationship, they will continue to make money, whilst other smaller companies will probably suffer, and who do not have that kind of a clout to do a one-on-one deal with Trump. So it's an interesting news, and something I thought I should kind of bring up. Short term, I feel this is net bullish, because after this announcement, both Tesla and Nvidia shares rallied briefly. So I feel like that's gonna continue, and it's kind of overall bullish if big companies can simply throw away some money at Trump uh, to make millions of dollars. Why wouldn't they do so? And why would the investor, the marginal investor, the institutional capital dude, not be happy with this, right? Because it's much more predictable, less risk for him. Now, speaking of some major crypto events this week, the big one is, of course, the FTX distribution. $1.9 billion of cash is going to come to its creditors on the 15th of August. That's 4 days away from here. Is this going to be net new liquidity brought into the crypto markets? I strongly believe so, because once you get in, you want to play the game again and again and again and again. And so this is net positive for crypto. Fluid, one of my favorite projects, is proposing a buyback and is expected to go live next week. If this happens, I think Fluid, it's net positive for Fluid. And finally, ETH, Sharplink Gaming, which alongside Bitmine, Tom Lee's ETH's strategic reserve company, as is going to announce their earnings on the 15th of August. Highly anticipated because um, the digital asset treasury meta is just getting heated, and people will closely watch how Sharply Gaming um, positions itself and how those results look like. And it's going to go either. It could go either way for for ETH, to be honest. Now, Curve's token emissions will drop under 5% next week. I do like Curve, but it has rallied quite a bit. But I still feel like as a stablecoin swap exchange, it still has a lot of momentum, behind it. Then Lombard's LBTC will start accruing BTC yield starting August 11th. And you have several public treasury companies who are allegedly exploring buying Sonic's S token. Sonic, which was previously Phantom, which is Andrei Kronev, who was also the founder of Yearn Finance back in the day. It's his blockchain. They're essentially positioning themselves as an institutional chain, offering various yield products and stuff like that. So this might be a very interesting development for the Sonic protocol. Something worth keeping an eye on. Right now, Injective pre-IPO stock trading will soon launch. Pre-IPO, a lot of momentum coming for this. I really don't know if there is a big market for pre-IPO trading on chain, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, US CPI data is scheduled to come out later today. We'll see how that data comes out. I think it could set the precursor for how the Fed reacts to a rate cut, later in September and then in December as well. And finally, Stocknet, a community vote to launch Bitcoin staking on Stocknet will go live tomorrow. I have one other news for Stocknet that you should know, but big things happening and things to keep an eye on uh, this week ahead in crypto. Right now, in other news, Tom Lee continues to sing the bullish tune for Ethereum. And now he says that ETH is entering its 2017 Bitcoin moment. And if you just rewind back, 2017 was the time when Bitcoin started gaining some kind of mainstream attention. 2020 is when, if I remember, 2020 or 21 is when the first ETF discussions were happening, or the first one was filed or approved. But 2017 really is the rally when ETH went from like 5K to 20K, right? And got a lot of mainstream attention. Something similar is happening for Ethereum now, with institutions trying to pile on as much ETH as possible. After Tom Lee said stablecoins are basically the chat GPT moment for Ethereum. So it's interesting, right? It's interesting that he remains so bullish about Ethereum's prospects. Also keep an eye on this fact that as long as he's running Bitmine, which is a company solely focused on Ethereum strategic reserves, he will sing the tune that will allow him to sell as much of the Bitmain stock and do the financial engineering that we saw Michael Saylor execute so well for MicroStrategy. So it's still, I feel, early days, but very bullish news. Speaking of bullish, I think the entire market is bullish right now. As you can see with the funding rate heat map, for almost every token, it's extremely green, which basically shows funding rate not only low, but they're incredibly positive. So, longs are paying shorts to hold their positions, and so many long positions only indicate a lot of uh, you know, a lot of bullish underlying sentiment in the market, which is now also indicating on the funding rate. Now, some bad news. Large unlocks are on the way. The biggest one, and the one that I am most concerned about, is Avalanche, which will see almost $40 million of tokens unlock, and the other one would be Starknet. We spoke about Starknet, and they're looking to launch BTC staking on Starknet, but here we have 127 million stocknet tokens worth $18 million, or 6% of their supply, is going to unlock very, very soon, this week itself. um, Never a good idea to buy tokens with such heavy unlocks. I would strongly suggest that you keep Stocknet on the back burner and don't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. The other one that I am extremely bearish on is ZK, which is zero knowledge. Again, 173 million tokens unlocked, worth not much because the token completely collapsed. But about 3.8% of the supply, valued at $10 million for ZK, is getting unlocked. You also have Sui. Will have about $11 million of token unlocked, but there's a lot of demand for Sui in the marketplace. I'm not that concerned about Sui, but definitely keep an eye on token cliffs when you decide to enter into a large position. Okay, now speaking of a little more pain, Bitcoin up 937% since launch, since 2021, right? Ethereum is up like 881% since 21. And you have on the same barometer Cosmos and their token Atom, which is completely crushed, guys. Remember, Cosmos came into fore as an incredibly amazing solution to Ethereum's scalability issues by offering their interop solution. And we saw how challenging it has since been for the Atom community, for the Cosmos community, to really build anything meaningful beyond maybe osmosis, if I remember. But that's pretty much it. And the worst part is, even though there is developer activity, they have not been able to figure out a way to capture any of that value to the Atom token. So the underlying story with this is, it's easy to hold on to your bags if you are a strong believer, but it's always important. And this is a great story. It's always important to take a step back, see if the fundamentals, the story has broken, shifted, or changed, and use that to your advantage, right? We're not here to marry our bags. We're here to make money. And if you can no longer make money with a project, get rid of it. As simple as that. Rest in peace, Atom. Rest in peace. Okay, finally, there is a blockchain out there, Merge Tweets, with an asymmetrical amount of successful apps: Phantom, Jupiter, Jito, Axiom, Pump, Bonk, Squads, Camino, Helium, Hive Mapper, with the fastest evolving market structure, with the most battle tested scalability, with an immense strong startup ecosystem, with many institutional catalysts, and with a crystal clear technical roadmap. And it is currently less than half the market cap of XRP. Do with this info what you will. No prizes for guessing, guys. Mert is talking about Solana, and I think he has laid out what, so far, in the least amount of words I've read, the most bullish thesis for Solana. Which brings me to the last section of today's video. While everybody is talking about Ethereum, going crazy about Ethereum alts, I would say now is the time to start tracking and building up your soul bags if you haven't already done so. And not just your soul bags, like start DCing into quality alts on Solana. This would be Jito, this would be Radium, this would be Marinade, this would be Cloud, this would be Pump, this would be Bonk, this would be many other memes and other projects as well. Look at this chart, right? So you have Phantom, which launched perps about a month ago, and since then it has accumulated close to $1.8 million in hyperliquid revenue, 22 million annualized, guys. And at this rate, Phantom is outposing every other builder in both revenue and user referrals. Look at how much. Look at this green line up and to the right. Compare that to Axiom. or anybody else, Octo, Mars, Loot Base, Dextra Bot, nobody is coming close. And that just shows you the power of distribution in crypto. I always say great ideas don't win, great distribution wins. And Phantom has that. And kudos to Phantom. And Phantom, by the way, guys, all Solana, right? So always bullish on Solana. Um, in another report, in the last 7 days, over $250 million has been bridged to Solana from other chains, including 138 million from Ethereum. It's all self-explanatory. Do what you can with this information. Now, ETPs, exchange traded products. Again, Solana based digital asset products, including ETPs, funds, and ETFs, saw $21 million in inflows this past week. This was the sixth consecutive week of positive inflow for Solana, pushing the year to date total to 873 million, guys. And we don't even have large, top tier ETFs announced for Solana yet. They're all under consideration by SEC. Can you even imagine how much capital will flow into Solana once we have that? Billions, guys. I will not be surprised if it, flips the multi-asset fund and goes maybe as close to even Ethereum in terms of AUM and weekly flows. Very much possible, right? So very bullish for Solana. Now, just to take a slight detour, but the borrower landscape on Aave is going parabolic. You can see, like from a little after January, like mid of this year, the total borrowing on Aave has grown from under like a little around $8 billion to more than $20 billion in the last quarter. Extremely bullish for Aave, and I was watching this very interesting visual, and kudos to Colton for sharing this. Aave versus banks. And if Aave were a bank, it would now be ranked 41 in total deposit terms in dollar figures, moving past Synovus, Pinnacle, Frost BK, BUKF, and other banks, which is quite interesting to see. 10 years back, remember, guys, 10 years is all we have seen of Ethereum, and Aave even less. And if in such a short span of time, we could see this kind of growth when you have no institutional adoption, when you have no retail adoption, and all you have is a few DJs participating in this game, it's incredible to see what we are witnessing in front of this our eyes. And to those who think they have lost or they're no longer part of this game, I want to assure you we are still early, guys. Very early, right? Um, Yeah, all 5 Sigma is planning to raise 1.5 billion for World Liberty Financial Token Treasury strategy and will add Eric Trump to its board. Again, interesting. I feel like WLFI is part of the Trump family DeFi protocol project, and it's going to do incredibly well simply because you have a president with a lot of clout, with a lot of pro crypto announcements going in for him, and the family is well positioned. Now, keep an eye on Alpha and see how it goes. And finally, I want to leave you with this very interesting post that I read, that paper money is not real money. And if you do make life changing money, change your life. It basically says that a lot of people end up round tripping as quickly as they make their gains. And so their bull market joy, which is temporary, turns into sadness, which is forever. I want to close with this thought that if you get an opportunity to make money and to take profits, do it. Take it. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I did not want to feel like shilling any token, but I just wanted to give you a broad analysis of how I'm looking at the market right now. I think we have a lot of very interesting drivers. Don't get carried away by all of the momentum. Momentum is great. They will, but the market always corrects itself, and especially in post-halving years We've seen August to be really good for Bitcoin, and I feel Bitcoin will do incredibly well this month. And but we are going to see some kind of a pullback happen in September. So be ready for that as well. If you have to reallocate, if you have a lot of leverage positions, play play carefully, right? Do your risk assessment and risk management in a smart way. That's it, guys. I'll see you again on Wednesday with more alpha from the markets. Until then, it's me, Rohit, signing off. Sayonara.